Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with an alarm clock ringing. Tom Ludlow wakes up, still in his striped shirt, grabs his gun, and gets out of bed. He puts his gun next to his toothbrush on the bathroom sink, and looks at himself in the mirror. Then he throws up in the toilet. He gets in his car and drives down the road, while the sun sets behind the tall buildings in Los Angeles. Tom was once a detective, but he started drinking a lot after his wife died. He works secretly for a special police group in Los Angeles. At night, he goes to Koreatown, and stops at a store to drink some small bottles of vodka. He insults some Korean guys, who want to buy a machine gun. They beat him up really badly, and take his car. He finds his car at the Korean guy's hideout. We see a man going to the back of the car. Tom takes out a gun, puts on a bulletproof vest, and goes toward a big house. After entering the house, Tom takes down the man in the chair, and enters the bathroom to eliminate another person. However, a guard becomes aware of the intrusion, and shoots at him, but Tom survives the attack due to his bulletproof vest. Fueled by anger, he goes into a rampage, swiftly taking out everyone in the room, with precise headshots. With the threat neutralized, he takes a moment to warm up, sipping some liquor. He then stages a fake crime scene, providing himself with a cover story for his actions. While doing this, he searches the house thoroughly. He eventually opens a door, and discovers two young girls, who had been held captive inside. He reassures them, saying, "It's okay, I'm a cop." Detective Tom Ludlow, a highly skilled and efficient policeman known for solving cases on his own, not only resolved the immediate danger, but also saved these two missing girls. Next, Tom finds himself surrounded by fellow police officers at the crime scene. While his colleagues in the unit praise him as a super cop, his former partner, Detective Terrence Washington, approaches him with a different perspective. Washington is visibly skeptical, and repeatedly questions Tom about why he chose to kill the criminals, instead of letting the law handle them. He believes justice should be served through legal means, not through violence. It becomes evident that Tom's entire unit, including their captain, Jack Wander, regularly engages in unethical and illegal activities. Washington has distanced himself from the unit's corruption and deception, choosing to follow a straight and honest path. Captain Wander congratulates Tom for his actions, and then accompanies him to the hospital, to treat the injury he sustained during the gunfight with the Korean gang members. At the hospital, Tom patiently waits for a specific nurse, who happens to be his girlfriend, Grace Garcia. While he's waiting, a patient in the adjacent space in the emergency room recognizes Tom, and eagerly asks him to share how he solved the case involving the Korean gang. Before Tom can respond, another police officer approaches the enthusiastic patient, and reveals his identity as James Biggs, the captain of internal affairs. Biggs gives Tom his business card, and suggests they collaborate, but Tom clearly despises Biggs. During a department party, Tom learns Washington's report was the catalyst for Biggs' investigation into his actions. He becomes furious with Washington for what he sees as snitching, and their friendship turns into bitter enmity. He is determined to teach Washington a lesson. Later, he tails Washington to a grocery store, with the intention of confronting him. As Tom approaches the grocery store, he notices two masked individuals entering the premises. An immediate sense of danger washes over him, and he rushes into the store, to warn Washington about the potential threat. However, mistaking Tom's intentions for an attack, Washington launches an assault on him. He desperately tries to convince Washington that a robbery is imminent, but Washington remains skeptical. In a tense moment, the two armed thugs enter the store with machine guns, and chaos erupts. During the ensuing firefight, a shot is fired, and tragically, it hits Washington. Whether it was intentional or accidental remains unclear. The two assailants continue firing, ultimately leading to Washington's demise. The sound of gunfire alerts the police, who quickly respond to the scene. Captain Wander arrives to investigate the crime scene, and discreetly suggests to Tom that he should steal the store's security video disc, which could potentially incriminate him in Washington's murder. DNA evidence from two known criminals, Fremont and Coates, is discovered at the scene, along with drugs found in Washington's car. It's assumed that despite his apparent change in behavior, Washington was involved in corruption. He was suspected of stealing drugs from the department's evidence room, and selling them to Fremont and Coates, who in turn killed him over a failed drug deal. In light of these revelations, Tom decides to conduct his own personal investigation into the case. He approaches Detective Paul Diskin to discuss the matter, but their conversation escalates into an argument. Diskin offers Tom his support, saying, "If I say you weren't there, you weren't there. This is your mess, and I'm cleaning it up." Tom then reveals the names of the two thugs, Fremont and Coates, to Diskin. At this critical moment, Tom becomes determined to avenge Washington's death. However, Detective Discant reveals a shocking truth. Washington was in fact a corrupt cop. On the day of the shooting, Washington was carrying $50,000 in cash, and it turns out he had been collaborating with Fremont and Coates in the illegal trade. They were partners in selling narcotics, but Fremont and Coates double-crossed Washington, taking all the money for themselves. Despite this revelation, Tom remains unconvinced, and insists on further investigation. He asks Discant to accompany him, and they encounter a group of random thugs in the area. A man who appears to be Mexican makes a quick escape upon seeing them. They waste no time and chase after him. Unfortunately for the fleeing thug, he gets entangled in barbed wire while attempting to climb onto a rooftop. Tom seizes the opportunity to question him. The man mentions a person named Grill who might have information. Just as Grill is about to escape, Tom bursts in without saying a word, and apprehends him, using a book to repeatedly strike Grill in the face, to force information out of him. Tom presses him for information about the whereabouts of Fremont and Coates. Grill initially claims to have no knowledge, but Tom's threat of jail finally breaks his resolve. He reveals a thug named Scribble might know where to find them. Tom and Discant waste no time tracking down Scribble. Tom employs intimidation to force Scribble into taking them to the location where Fremont and Coates can be found. However, what they are about to discover is shocking. Upon arriving at the scene, they are greeted by a grisly sight. The house is covered in blood, suggesting something terrible has happened. In the nearby hills, they make a grim discovery: the bodies of the real Fremont and Coates buried in a shallow grave. The advanced state of decomposition indicates these two criminals were killed well before Washington's murder, raising new questions about the chain of events. Tom and Discant, assuming the roles of corrupt cops willing to take over Washington's drug-dealing operation, decide to arrange a meeting with the imposters posing as Fremont and Coates, who they suspect of being responsible for Washington's death. During the meeting with the criminals posing as Fremont and Coates, things take a dangerous turn. The imposters recognize Tom from the convenience store, and realize that he and Discant are off-duty cops seeking revenge. Discant also recognizes the two criminals, but before he can reveal their true identities, Coates shoots and kills him. A heated gunfight ensues, Tom ultimately killing both. He manages to escape and heads back to his girlfriend Grace's house. At Grace's house, he watches a TV news report that shocks him to the core. The report reveals the deceased criminals were actually undercover sheriff's deputies, and accuses Tom of their murder. He is bewildered as to how this information, especially his involvement, could have made it to television so quickly. Suddenly, two fellow officers from his own unit, Santos and DeMille, forcefully enter Grace's house, and apprehend Tom. Believing they are taking him to the police station, Tom soon realizes they are heading in the opposite direction. Santos and DeMille confess they planted Fremont and Coates' DNA in the drugs in Washington's car, at the scene of his murder. They did this to prevent Washington from testifying against Captain Wander, not to protect Tom in Biggs's investigation. Tom becomes aware that Santos and DeMille are now intent on killing him. Seizing an opportunity, he attacks the driver from the back seat, causing it to crash, but his escape is not guaranteed. Santos and DeMille take Tom to the remote house where the two bodies were discovered earlier. Their sinister plan is to obtain some of Tom's DNA, and plant it at the crime scene, making it appear as if he were involved, and they intend to execute him. They taunt Tom during the process, but he manages to crawl into some nearby brush, and turns the tables on them, ultimately killing both of them. With the two out of the picture, Tom heads to Washington's house, suspecting that another member of Captain Wander's unit, Mike Clady, will be searching for the security disc that could reveal the true circumstances of Washington's murder. He finds Clady assaulting Washington's widow, but Tom intervenes, subdues Clady, and locks him in the trunk of his car. He begins to piece together that he has been manipulated and used as a pawn in Captain Wander's plan. He goes to Wander's house to confront him, and gauge his true intentions. He asks Wander if he can fix the situation, and encourages him to send a message to Clady for help. But Tom possesses Clady's phone, and reads a message from Wander, instructing Clady to come to his house and eliminate Tom. A struggle ensues between Tom and Wander, and Tom eventually handcuffs Wander to a railing. Wander reveals a hidden stash of stolen money behind a wall in his house. In a shocking revelation, Wander confesses that he holds incriminating evidence against nearly everyone in the police department, including judges and politicians. With this vast network of influence, he has been able to climb the ranks of the department, while concealing the corruption within his unit. He attempts to persuade Tom that he is a friend, and that the money is meant to benefit their unit. Deeply betrayed, Tom responds, "You are my best friend," and shoots Wander twice in the chest. On the back porch of Wander's home, A plainclothes police officer arrives and instructs him to lower his weapon. Internal Affairs Officer Biggs appears behind the officer, and explains that he rushed to the scene as soon as Tom called him. Biggs reveals that he had been using Tom as a means to expose Wander, and gain access to his documents and ill-gotten wealth, revealing the true extent of the corruption within the unit. Biggs returns Tom's gun, and handcuffs saying, "One day the chief will pass you in the hall, and he will give you a nod, and you will know why." The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe us for more videos.